Well, hello everybody. This is Eric Worre, and welcome to a special Network Marketing Pro event, How to Become a World-Class Event Promoter. And first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on, for committing to become professionals yourselves in this great profession of network marketing. I also want to thank the people that are all over the world in virtually every time zone that have taken the time and that have set their alarm clock and they've gotten up in the middle of the night in order to be able to get this information. This information will be available via replay in the next day or day and a half, and we'll be sending out that replay information so everybody will be able to watch this and listen to this as many times as they'd like. Over the course of the next hour, I've got a lot of information that I want to cover. I hope you're ready. I hope you have some notes in front of you. It's going to be impossible for you to truly digest all of this information and to put it into action immediately, but it's going to be very possible for you to get the information, for you to start on this process, and then for you to digest it over time. Why do a webinar on how to become a world-class event promoter? Why is that so important? I will tell you, after having been in this profession for over 20 years and knowing many of the top earners inside of this profession, the top earners are all amazing at this one skill. If I had to pick one skill to master over any other skill, it wouldn't be recruiting, it wouldn't be selling, it wouldn't be presenting, it wouldn't be training, it would be this skill. How to become a world-class event promoter. It really is a ticket to greatness because it does all the right things. I'm going to talk about three things tonight. Why attending events is critical. We'll talk about that. Second, I'm going to talk about why getting people to events is critical. And then third, the majority of the time over the course of this next hour is how to become a world-class event promoter. So to talk to you first, why attending events? Why should you attend events? The reason that there are many, many reasons. People will say, well, I'm going to go get the information. I'm going to go find out about the new products that the company is announcing, or there's this new thing that's going to be happening, or we're going to hear this special speaker. That's a very small part of it. One is you get away from all the distractions of life. You put everything aside and you totally focus on your business for a period of time. And I'm going to be talking primarily tonight about destination events, events where you travel to a place to go see something. You can utilize all these principles for regional events that aren't long-distance destination. You can also use them for local events, inviting somebody to your home, inviting somebody, teaching people how to invite people to your local maybe weekly meeting or monthly meeting. All these principles will work, but I'm going to focus on destination events. All right, so why? Getting away from distractions is huge because it allows people for an extended period of time to dream again and to get rid of all the other things that bog them down and keep them from the greatness that's inside of them. It builds tremendous belief because they see so many other things and they hear so many other things and they meet so many other people. It builds relationships, and the relationships are what holds all of our business together so tremendously well. They see others examples of success. The people go across the stage and they go, you know what, if that person goes across, I can go across. They meet people who have had success. They meet people who've done what they want to do, and it sets an example for them that they go, you know what, I can do that. They get good information. That's what most people think they're going there for, but it's a very small percentage. But they get good information. They get training. They get product information, company information. They recharge their batteries. Maybe they've been, getting a little bit, I don't know, they've lost their intensity, and it recharges their batteries for another 90 days or for another 4 months, and it recharges their batteries. It keeps them inspired and back into the marketplace aggressively. And I will say so many defining moments, and I'm a fan of defining moments, but so many defining moments happen at events. People say, you know what, I'm going to do this. They make a decision at an event more than any other place. Defining moments are tricky things. They can happen in a lot of different areas of your life and a lot of different locations of your life. But I will tell you, inside of network marketing, so many defining moments happen at those events. So why getting people to events is critical? The biggest one, it will do what you can't do for your people. You can't do all the things that I just described for your people because they know you too well. Familiarity breeds contempt. You need third-party validation, third-party information for people to be able to believe it. They need to see somebody other than you having success. They need to hear about somebody other than you that are doing well. It also gets people on the same page. It takes your entire organization, whether it's local, national, international, and it gets them on the same page, talking about the same things, focused on the same projects, and using the same language. Without these defining kind of events to be able to pull everybody together, the business tends to go in a lot of different directions. This gets everybody on the same page. If you are successful at getting people to events, it creates exponential growth because it creates independent people. If you don't get people to events, you have a group of dependent people. If you get people to events, it creates independent people, and independent people can allow you to have exponential growth. In other words, it happens with or without you. This also allows you to build outside of your hometown. When you get people from different markets to come into an event like this, that can be the time that you get together instead of having to travel so much. It creates a sense of pride in your team. When your team is there and it's growing and it's representing, it gives a great sense of pride for the people in your team to see that they're part of something, that they're doing something other people aren't doing. So that's why promoting for events is so critical. Now, let's talk about how to become a world-class promoter. How do you become a world-class promoter? Oops, sorry. Or you can say, if you type like I type, how to become a world-class promotion. Not exactly the right way to say it. So anyway, number one is to decide. Decide that this is important for you. This might sound simple, and it might sound basic, and you might say, well, Eric, please. Decide that this is important to you. I will tell you a defining moment that happened to me when I went to my first
Welcome to GoToWebinar, Web Events Made Easy.
I was, embarrassed, and I was shy, and I wanted to say hello. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to sound stupid. And I finally said, David, his name was David, what's the secret? And, it's a silly question, and you could see he had pity on me. So he said, Eric, look at this room. And there was maybe 1,000 people in the room. He said, here's the secret. Half of the people in this room will be back for the next event. The other half won't, for whatever reason. And the half that come back at the next event are going to make twice the money of the people who don't come back. Those other people are still probably going to be in the business, but they just won't be back at the next event. And I went, okay, well, that's a secret. If I'm here then, at the next event, then I'll be able to make twice the money as the average of the people in the room. And he said, and it keeps happening. Half of that group won't be back the next time, and half of that group won't be back the next time. And he said, Eric, if you'll just be here at each one of these major events and build your team and continue to grow your team, from event to event to event, there's nothing that can stop you from achieving all that you want. And it was like, for me, I'm a simple-minded guy, and I said, you know what? I can do that. So I made a decision then. I was never going to miss another event, and I was going to do everything in my power to grow the number of people on my team at the next event every single time, event to event to event to event to event. Now, over the course of 22 years, I haven't done that every time. But I'll tell you, it's been a decision, it's been a muscle that I've developed, and this has become important. The next event is not optional for me, and it shouldn't be optional for you. It shouldn't be optional for the people in your organization. This is something that is a decision that becomes part of your group's DNA, or it doesn't. If it's not part of the DNA, that means a leader has fallen down. If it is part of the DNA, that's because a leader has shown up. So decide is the number one thing. If you decide this is important to me, and I'll continue to talk about why it's important to you over the course of this hour, but if you decide this is important to me, that's enough. The rest of this is just going to be how you make that decision a reality. Okay? So my hope is that you decide to do this. If you decide that promoting for events is something important, you're going to be able to do well. All right. Next, written goals. Written goals. I don't know what it is for you. I'm going to use, my company has an event next week, and then we have another event another 3 months after that. So the goals need to be, from this event, what's the written goals of how many people on your team are going to be at the next event? You're a given. Your spouse is a given. And I'll tell you, you have to bring your spouse. That's absolutely critical. There's more unity created from spouses attending events than any other thing that I can possibly imagine. You can't say enough to a negative spouse in order to be able to get them to see it. They have to see it independent of you. And the only thing that's going to do that is an event. So bring them to an event. So written goals to the next event. How many people are you going to have on your team at that next event? And if let's say your company has 3 events a year, how many are you going to have at the next one and the next one and the next one? I would always set your goals over the course of the next 3 events. So maybe you say, okay, it's just me this time, but the next time it's going to be 8 of us, and the next time after that it's going to be 25, and the next time after that it's going to be 50. And don't worry about how you're going to do it. I'm going to give you those skills. Don't worry about how the heck am I going to get 50 people. I don't have anyone on my team right now. How am I going to get 50 people to attend an event? Don't worry about that. We'll get that taken care of as we build to the first event, and then the second, and then the third. So written goals. Next, and this is a big one, public declaration. You need to tell the world how many people are going to be at the next event from your team. Tell your company, tell your upline, tell your downline, tell your cross-line peers, put it on your Facebook, publish it on Twitter. Tell the world how many people you're going to have at the next event. This will hold you accountable to you. And then work to blow away whatever goal that you have, but create a public declaration. I will have at least 20 people at the next event. Period. End of story. Hold me accountable to it. As of this date, ask me how many people I had, because I'm going to do it. A public declaration is huge in order to be able to move you forward in what you've decided to be important. Next, you must be more committed to the next event than anyone you know. You need to be more committed to this as a priority than anyone you know. I could say committed, but that's not the right way to say it. It's more committed. Pick somebody that's committed. You need to be more committed. Somebody says, no, I'm really, really serious. So fine, whatever. I'm more committed. In other words, this is so much a priority to you that you're just going to be known as the most committed person to that next event than anybody you know. And that commitment will be a magnet. Your decision, your goals, your public declaration, your commitment, all are going to be a magnet to attract people to want to do this with you. The next is really important. Fun and adventure. I will tell you, I have helped more people make the decision to go to the next event by saying, come on, it'll be an adventure. Let's do something outrageous. Let's go have an incredible time. Let's go get outside of our comfort zone. We're stuck in this rut, and let's go have an adventure. Let's do something completely crazy. I know it's not reasonable to say we're going to go do this? There's two people. One of them I went to high school with, and his wife. And I told them to come to the San Francisco event, and they're saying, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure, and this is an event we're doing next week, Network Marketing Pro event. And I said, look, come on. It'll be an adventure. I know it doesn't make sense, but you know what? It's going to be Valentine's Day in San Francisco. You're going to do something and step out and make something happen, and I know it's not reasonable. And I know even today they're questioning that decision, but I will tell you, and I'll tell you again, because I know you're listening, you need to do something else to break out of where you are. This can be part of that, and it's going to be fun. It shouldn't be like pulling teeth. Let's do something wild and crazy, okay? Fun and adventure. Make sure that that's a big part of the theme of everything that you do. Our team, we have fun. We're going to party. We're going to soak it all in. We're probably not going to get much sleep. It's going to be insane. When I first was doing this, I didn't have any money. And there were times when we crammed into a minivan with 8 or 10 of us and drove 10 hours to an event, all saying, you know what, it's an adventure. It's like a movie. I've slept in the bathtub. We've had 8 people in a hotel room, okay, laying all over the floors. We couldn't stay in the host hotel. We had to stay way down the street in like a equivalent of a bargain motel in order to be able to afford it. We brought our food with us. We didn't go out and eat at the fancy places. We went to the grocery store when we got to San Francisco or wherever it is we were going. And we made our sandwiches, and we brought our lunches, and you know what? It was an adventure. It was exciting. We were doing something together. We were saying, you know what? I'm not satisfied with staying where I am in this life, and I'm not going to just sit there and hope for things to change. I'm going to go get out there, and I'm going to make something happen. But I will tell you, the fun and the adventure and the sense of pride that we had, we were all kind of conspiring to figure out a way to do it against all odds, and it was a heck of a lot of fun. And I would encourage you to do the same, and I'd encourage you to foster that inside of your organization. All right, now into some serious stuff. Vision. Why are we doing this? You have to be able to create a vision in somebody's mind as to why would they walk away from their hometown. Why would they go to the expense? Why would they do the things that they're doing? What's the end game? And the end game is to be able to build you a business. The end game is for you to have a breakthrough. The end game is for not only for, if I was talking to you and I was telling you why it's important for you to be at the next event, I would say, look, first of all, for you, if you get solid in your mind as to what this opportunity can create for you, then you're going to be able to build a team far easier than if you don't go. That's number one, getting you solid with you. Number two, I want you to see these other people walking across the stage and to realize that they're no better than you, and if they can do it, that you can do it. Three, I want you to see that this is a tool for all of us to be able to bring our people and to be able to create leverage inside of our lives. In 3 weekends a year, we can change our lives if we get good at this, and the only way to do it is to start with you. So the vision is, together we're going to go do something great. The vision is, we want to transform the people in our organization from average to extraordinary. The vision is, our team is going to represent. We're going to show up. People are going to know who we are. So there's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of prestige, there's a sense of all these different things. And your vision of what it's going to mean for not only you, but the people on your team. And please make sure that you always use language that is inclusive of your team, so they're not saying, they're building your vision for your life. Nobody wants to be part of somebody else's vision. Everybody wants to have their own vision. They don't mind being inspired. They don't mind being a part of something else so long as it serves their vision for where they want to go in their life. Make sense? All right, next. And I know this is a lot to absorb, and we're really going fast. We've got 40 minutes to go, and I've got a lot to cover. But you'll be able to watch this and listen to this over and over and over, and I hope you can soak it all in because it's super important. All right, next is game plan. A vision is great, but a game plan is something that gives legs to your vision. A game plan is, here's how we're going to do it. Now I understand why we're going to do it. We're going to go to this event and we're going to attend this as a team because of this and this and this and this. But how are we going to do this? And I will tell you, your game plan, I can't create a game plan for everybody here because every company is different, every situation is different, but I can give you some general concepts. A game plan is, let's say it's 3 months from today your event is happening. Let's say that there's places that could take buses. One of the best things I've done over the years is had bus tours that if it's anywhere inside of 10 hours, if it was a one-day bus trip, we rented an entire Greyhound bus and we sold tickets on that bus, and then we all drove together and watched videos and had fun and got to know each other, and it was a real adventure. That was a big part of the game plan that I've used over the years, people getting on buses and going and figuring out a way to get there cheaper. The other game plans is ribbons and posters and recognition at your local events, and we'll talk more about recognition later. Flyers, are you going to be at the next event? All the different things that you could put into here will create your game plan, and I'm going to give you some of the tools to be able to do that as we keep going through this. But what's your game plan? Let's say your goal is to have 20 people. What's your game plan in order to be able to make that happen? Part of the game plan is every new person you're bringing into the business, you have to sit down with them and you have to let them know the importance of being at the next event with their spouse. Right at the moment of joining. That has to be part of your game plan. Another part of the game plan, if you have an organization already, is to call all of the people that you have and to let them know the importance of being at the next event, even if that means three-way calls with your upline, if that means doing conference calls for everybody on the team to listen to, if that's having special guest speakers call in to your events or whatever to be able to talk about the events. It's sending out email blasts. It's reminding everybody of everything over and over and over. All of these things are really, really important to creating your game plan. This is what I would call a campaign. A campaign. And part of this campaign, I will tell you, is going to be repetition. Repetition, 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 repetition. It's hugely important. And the campaign, let's say that there's a big, prize fight that's coming up. And you might not all be fight fans, but a prize fight that's coming up, or a huge movie, if you looked at like Avatar that was just coming out, the campaign leading up to that, or the campaign leading up to a prize fight, a major prize fight, and they're trying to sell pay-per-view tickets. They'll work for months, and you know what? You can't just say it to somebody once. You've got to say it over and over and over and over and over and over 1,000 times before they go, you know what? I didn't know, but you're serious about that. I can't believe it. The campaign is critical. It's part of that game plan. And so, a lot of these overlap, but I want you to get them all because understand, if I have a campaign to get 20 people or whatever it's going to be, I've heard lots of slogans for campaigns, and I love slogans. You can come up with your own. One slogan I heard recently was pay now, play later. That might be a slogan for your campaign. One campaign that I did a long time ago, it worked incredibly well, was 90 days of pain for a lifetime of gain. You can, whatever it is, come up with your team name campaign or whatever it is, but something with a destination Dallas or destination Denmark or destination, whatever, and you guys build everything around getting everybody to that event. I hope you're seeing what I'm talking about here when I'm talking about when you make a decision and you write your goals, you do your public declaration, and you're more committed, now it becomes an all-out campaign to make this happen. This is more important, literally, than anything else in your business. If you had to focus on any one thing, this is the thing to focus on. Now, what's a big part of the campaign is stories. Telling stories of people who went to the last event, they didn't really want to go, and then they went, and what happened to them. Tell your own story. You know what? I was questioning it because this was really a budget issue, and I didn't know if I could really justify a way to do this, and I justified it, and you know what? I was able to take myself to the next level. You know how few, there in the early days, in my first 5 or 6, 7 years, most events I couldn't afford to go to. But I went anyway, and it pushed me through to high levels of success. You can always justify going to a destination event. Always, 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 always. Because of what it will do for you and what it will do for your team. And I can't tell you the devastation that will come to your team from missing even one. It's so monumental. If you go and you're going and you're going and you're going and then you miss one, everything starts over. Your team loses faith in you. Everybody starts to question everything. You lose faith as a leader. And it's the beginning of a really bad cycle if you miss an event. That's a story that I tell too. Now, if you get good at telling stories and you have a good campaign, here's what will show up inside of your organization. A verbal commercial. We're going to the event because this and this and this and this and this. Are you going to the destination blankety blank event? Because guess what? This and this and this and this and this. We're all going because we've decided that we're going to blankety 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 blank. Once I hear the same commercial, this verbal commercial, in a team from different people over and over, then I know I have a leader. That's the biggest clue. Because I start hearing the whole team saying the same basic commercial. Here's why we're doing it. Here's our vision. Here's our game plan. Here's our campaign. Come join us. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an adventure. We're going to make something happen. We're not settling for living like this. We've had it. We're not going to just go through this life as robots. We're not going to go through this life as a drone. We're taking charge of our lives. Come on with us. Yes, I know you've got to get off on a Friday, but come on. You can get off on a Friday. Yes, I know it's going to be a stretch, but come on. What's the alternative? Doing what you've been doing for the last 10 years and expecting something to change? We've got to be the change. Let's go do it together. Come on. When you start hearing this verbal commercial repeating over and over inside of an organization, then you know that you've got a leader. Then you know that you've become a leader when you start hearing it inside your own team. Problem solving. This is a big one. I talked to a young lady yesterday who's a single mom, Southern California, great lady, and she's wondering if she can get to San Francisco, and she's got custody issues with her 4-year-old, and she's saying, well, gosh, Eric, I'm not sure, and, you know, I only have so much time, and because they split custody, you know, 1 month with her ex and 1 month with her, and it's really difficult, and I've got to figure out a way to do this, and I've got to figure out daycare, and I said, you know what? You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your son to be able to figure out a way to make this happen. Do you figure out daycare? Yes, figure out daycare. Do what you have to do in order to be able to create the life that you want, so a year from today you've got choices. You don't want to be, I take my hat off to every single parent in the world because no one knows the type of struggle that they go through and how difficult it is. And I recognize that. But you know what? I also know that a single parent who takes charge of their life and creates choices for themselves and for their children are heroes. So you can kind of get through a year, or you can grow through a year. And that means some decisions. And that means with an event like this, you just got to find a way. So that's an example of problem solving. A person says, I can't afford it. How far do you live away? How far is it of a drive is it? 8 hours. Well, then you just need to get in the car and get some other people to go with you. I can't afford the hotel room. Stay with 8 other people then. I can't afford the food. Go to the grocery store like I did and make a bunch of bologna sandwiches. And every time you're eating that bologna sandwich, you say, this is for my future, this is for my future, this is for my future. You know what I'm saying? Don't buy the bottled water. Just get the regular water. Get through whatever problem you've got. I can't figure out childcare. Well, let's figure out a way to do that. Let's work on it together. When people say, I don't know if I can go, what they're really saying is, you haven't given me enough inspiration to make that decision for real. Because if the inspiration is enough, they'll figure out a way to make it happen. But that's when a leader needs to show up. And that you need to help them mentally solve that problem so they can move forward and be able to get that thing done. So problem solving. Big, big issue. And when you run into a problem, and when you talk to somebody who says, I can't go because, in that conversation, somebody's buying and somebody's selling. And you know who's selling? They're selling you their story. And that's only bad if you buy it. Because a person that tells me I can't go, I'm too busy, I never buy that story. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. You're not too busy. I'm sorry, la, 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 I can't hear you. You're not too busy. Can't afford it? Let's find a way. I can't get off work. Let's see what we can do. If it's important enough, they can figure out all those things, all of those things. So problem solving is really important, that you don't buy the stories. You do more selling than you do buying. Everything's going to be fine. Next, recognition. This is huge in building for events. Recognition. Recognizing the fact that people have made the commitment to go to an event. Recognizing the fact that they're bringing their spouse. Recognizing the spouse. How do you recognize people? Create pins or badges that only the people who registered for the next event wear at your local events. Publish the names of the people in your organization that are registered for the next event in an email blast that you send out to everybody on the team. Congratulate all of them. Ask your upline to help you by congratulating them. Hold special conference calls only for the people who have registered for the next event. Make it a prestigious thing. Make it something where people feel proud. They feel like they've done something other people haven't done. And they're treated differently than the people who have not made the step. Recognition. Big deal. Really important. And if you're really smart, recognize the people who've gone to two in a row, and 3 in a row, and 4 in a row, and 5 in a row, and make that part of your recognition program also. Next, peer pressure. Some people think this is a negative thing. I think there's positive peer pressure and there's negative peer pressure. Peer pressure is part of our DNA. If you publish a list of everybody who's registered for an event, and you're not, or somebody publishes a list of your team and you're not on it, that's peer pressure. Nobody made a list of the people who didn't register. They just made a list of the people who did. So in the most positive sense, it is providing a reminder that other people are making commitments. You probably should too. That's the reason why I want you to make a public declaration, not a private little goal. Why I want you to tell the world, hey, I'm going to have 20 people at the next event, or 50 people, whatever it is, versus just whispering it to your spouse. Because it will instantly start to create accountability for you to do the thing that you said you were going to do. Peer pressure is something that all leaders use. whether you want to view it positively or negatively. They set the bar. The people who achieve that bar are treated one way, and the people who don't live to that expectation are treated a different way. And that's just, you can call that a reward system for the people who do achieve it. You can call it peer pressure in any way you want to look at it. But I'm telling you, I'm not saying manipulate people to do something they don't want to do. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is help people make a decision and follow through on a decision that they want to do. Everybody who's joined your organization wants to have success. Big events are part of success in our business. They're part of the DNA that makes it work. This is part of what we do. They all want the success. They all have their different levels of fear. I will tell you, competitions, recognition will sometimes free people from their fears. Next is inclusion and exclusion. You include people, and you can even get rid of exclusion if you want to. If you want to just look at the positive piece of it. But exclusion's also another piece. Somebody says, hey, go to the event and bring me back the notes. No, I won't. That's for people who went to the event. They get the notes. When you put out an email blast, here's all the people that are going. You're including them. You don't even have to talk about the exclusion piece. You can have special events only for people who went to the event. You can have special conference calls only for people who are registered for the next event. You have a different relationship with the people who are going to the next event. If they're not going, it's really a bad investment of time to spend a lot of time with them if they don't change their mind about this. This is serious stuff, guys. What I'm giving you is deep, deep DNA to the $1 Million Earners. If you're more committed, you use all the tools. If you made a decision, you're going to use all the tools. Call this what you want, but I will tell you, if you include some people and you treat people special when they make the decision to go to the event and they grow from event to event, it's going to have an impact on what happens to your organization. If you treat everybody exactly the same and you go to everybody, oh, we'll bring you back the notes, we'll tape record it, you don't have to go, don't worry about it, hey, I understand. Birthdays are birthdays, I get it. If you want to take that approach, I'm telling you, I'm not judging right or wrong, I'm just telling you that will get you a result, and it's a result that you won't like. If you're more committed, if you made a decision. It's got to be important. This creates a fear of loss for inside of people that they say, you know what, I want to be able to be part of this. I don't want the train to leave the station. I don't want somebody else to get something that I don't get. I don't want to lose something. I want to be part of that group. I want to be invited into that next room. I want to be introduced to the president of the company. I want to get my picture taken with the #1 income earner. I want to go across that stage and get that bouquet of flowers or get that trophy or that plaque. It's important. Next is distractions. Distractions. This is something that we all deal with all the time, and I will tell you, let's say it's 3 months to your next event, you're going to be faced with probably a half a dozen distractions, big ones. Something's going to happen and it's going to knock you off track. You have to be very careful that you don't allow distractions to derail your campaign. Somebody, leaves your company and they join something else, some other company, and they start to raid your downline. That's a distraction. Somebody, comes in and promotes some new system inside of your organization and it gets everybody all confused. That's a distraction. Anything can be a distraction. Somebody in your family gets sick. That's a distraction. You get sick. That's a distraction. The boss makes you work double time. That's a distraction. Anything that takes you away from your goal is a distraction. Your job as a leader is to kill distractions. In other words, if the reasons are big enough, I mean, if you're coming out with the movie Avatar in 3 months and somebody gets sick, do we stop the machine, the promotion machine for the movie Avatar? No. The machine keeps moving. If something happens, things to get derailed, it doesn't matter. Your job is to eliminate those distractions and to keep people on task and on focus. This is what's important. Let me remind you of the campaign. Repetition, 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 repetition. Guess how many times you have to talk about this upcoming event? A lot of people think that they can get there by talking about it 3 or 4 times. It's 30, 40, it's 300, 400 times. Then it gets built into the DNA of your group. Some of the best organizations I've ever worked with, they finally got this into the DNA of their organization, and they're some of the best in the world. Some of the best in the world at promoting for the next event. And because of that, that's held their entire culture together. Good economy, bad, doesn't matter. A distraction is when somebody says, well, in this economy, how do you expect people to come to an event? The ones who decide make it so. The ones who don't buy that story. All right. Big one, assignments. Your job is to call everybody in your organization and 3-way them to me so we can talk about why it's important to be at the next event. That's an example of an assignment that you put into the organization. People inside of network marketing love assignments. I want you to call 10 people today about this event. Okay. And their mind relaxes and they just go do it. Assignments are really important. Being able to say, I want you to set your goals for how many people you're going to have, and then as soon as you're done setting your goals, call me. Okay. People relax their brain, they know what to do, and they go and they fulfill the assignment. They love assignments. The more assignments you can put into your organization, the better, in every direction. Assignments are huge, and they're an incredibly great tool to being able to give people solid clarity as to exactly what they're supposed to do. Next is challenge. Challenge. The challenge is the people respond to challenge like they respond to assignments. A lot of people, for example, let's say a person tells me, I say, how many people are going to be at the event in June? And they say, well, my goal is 8. I say, well, let me challenge you. I want to challenge you to get 20. And they kind of puff up their chest and say, you know what? Okay. If they say 20, I want to challenge you to get 35. Why 35? I don't know. Okay. And they create a different game plan. And all of a sudden, their vision changes, their accountability changes, and they say, you know what? All right, I'm going to do it. And as soon as they say, I'm going to do it, then I go to the world and say, guess what? This person just said they were going to have 20, and they just accepted the challenge to have 35. Let's give them a big round of applause. So I recognize them. I include them. See what I'm saying? I provide a sense of belonging, also a sense of accountability. I help them with their public declaration, all of that. Challenge is really, really helpful in every aspect of your business, but especially through events. Challenge people to bring their spouse. Challenge people to bring just one more person. Challenge people to embrace this adventure and really go after it. All right, I just have a few more, and we're going to be good on time. Finances, we talked about this a little bit with problem solving, but I will just tell you, this is going to be your biggest objection. People say, I'm not sure, I don't know, gosh, what am I going to do? And the best investment you can make in network marketing is being at your next big event in whatever company that you're in, or your big team event. There's some companies that only do one, big event a year, but the teams do big events, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. But finances, you just have to be a good problem solver. You got to overcome it. You got to figure out a way. I tell people my story. I've gone through it. I tell people other people's stories and what happened when they went through it. You're going to become something more than you are if you'll take the step and figure out a way. And we are incredibly creative creatures. We can find a way. I'll tell you a great story. Good friend of mine. His name is Art Napolitano. He's #1 income earner with another company. He's earned, this last year, he earned over $4 million. But when I first saw Art, he came to an event in Chicago, Illinois, and he had no money. He drove from Boston, Massachusetts, to Chicago. And he sat down in the lounge, and I'll never forget it. I was sitting there with him and a couple other people, and he said, "Tell me what I have to do." He was talking to one of the other leaders that was part of the company I was with. "Tell me what I have to do. I'll do it. I'm so hungry. I'm broke. I don't know what I need to do, but I've got to break out. I came here. I couldn't figure out how to get here, but I drove." And it was something like 20-hour drive. I drove here, and I'm going to be driving back. But if you tell me to wear green, I'll wear green. If you tell me to stand on my head, I'll stand on my head. I want what you guys have, and I've got to be able to get it. And one of the leaders said, "You know what, Art? The only thing between you and making $1 million a year is figuring out a way to put 1,000 people in a big room in Boston 90 days from now." And Art just kind of blinked, and he said, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah, I'm dead serious. If you figure out a way, the goal is to have 1,000 people in a room 90 days from now. And then we have to figure out monthly goals to be able to get there. We have to create a campaign in order to be able to make it happen. We have to have a game plan. You have to go back, and you're going to have to transfer a vision to a core group of people, and they're going to have to get serious. You're going to have to get 10 people who can each get 100 tickets sold in order to be able to make it happen. You got to figure out financially how we're going to do this and how we're going to overcome it." And he said, "You know what? I'm going to do it." And he went back, and I will tell you, it was the hardest 90 days of his life. He almost quit like 10 times. But he created a game plan. He created a campaign. He told his stories. He laid out the vision. He had made a public declaration to the entire world, and he didn't have 1,000 people. My recollection is he had around 700 from nothing. And like I told you, I gave you the punchline up front. 18 years later, 19 years later, he's making over $4 million a year, 50 years old. Pretty good. Pretty good. Why? He didn't have the finances to do it, but he found a way, and he got the inspiration, and then he decided to use all the tools. And I will tell you, every single one of the tools that I just described, he uses every single day in every part of his business, especially in the event aspect of his business. Now, another aspect, another thing I'm going to give you, and this is big. This is big, and it's overlooked by most people, and that's prospects. Prospects. What do I mean by that? What I mean is a major priority of yours at every big event is to have prospects attend the event with you. Prospects come to the event with you. Okay? See the opportunity there. And you know what? There's more business people. They're more accustomed to getting on an airplane to go look at a company than they are to drive across town and go into a hotel room and check out a company. It's more in their comfort zone to get on an airplane, fly someplace, stay in a hotel, come back and tell their friends, "Yeah, I flew to San Francisco and I checked out this company. Let me tell you what I saw." And you can let them know, "I want to introduce you to the top earners of our company. I want you to see what this is about. I want you to really check it out." And most business people, they'll make that investment. They'll go check it out. And they'll do it more than they will driving across town. Too many of you are thinking that big events are only for distributors. They're not. They're for prospects. Now, some companies don't allow prospects in parts of their events. That may be true. In my opinion, they should open them up. Now, you still have to buy a ticket. You don't get to come free. They should open them up because this is one of the best things you could ever do to recruit and to grow your organization. Because not only did they see, and the closing ratio is going to be off the chart, not only did they see it, but they got distracted from their daily life. They looked at something, and the way that you brought them in, they're going to want to go and do the same with other people. So at every major event, you should have prospects at that event. And some of them will balk at the expense, and I will tell you one other thing that I've done, and do this only if you can back it up, but most of the time I want them to spend their money. Some of the time, here's another way that I would go. Come to this event. If you don't like what you see, I'll cover your airfare and your hotel. And if you can back that up, I've done that 20, 30, well, I don't know, 50 times in my life, and I've never, ever had to write a check because they always saw what they came to see. So prospects. And the last thing, and this is huge, is expectations. Great expectations. If you create an expectation in your organization that everyone is at an event, that everyone attends, that everyone goes, then they'll go. And if you create an expectation that only the leaders go and the people who aren't leaders don't go, then that's what's going to happen in your organization. If you create an expectation that you go and you bring back the notes for everybody else and you're a superhero, well, you're going to get a certain result. If you create an expectation that, no, we don't go, we wait for them to post something up on the website and we go check it out there, well, that's going to be the result that you get. Expectations are huge. One of the most powerful things that you can put into an organization is the expectation of what is required of people. That's all people want, is they want somebody to say, what's the expectation here? What do I need to do in order to be able to be successful? What's the expectation? I'll do it. You set the expectation by being a leader, and then everything else happens. So listen, we covered a lot of information, but let me recap. Last thing. I don't know if this is last thing. Maybe this is last thing. Track your results. Event number 1, you had 2 people. Event number 2, you had 8 or 34 or 87 or whatever it is. And make sure that you continue to track the numbers in your organization. This is the best measurement of growth inside of your business. The best measurement is to track this. This is more important to track than your volume or anything else, because your volume will follow this result. So master these skills, and everything else gets much easier. Before we do that, I'm going to go back, hold on, and recap real quick. Why attending is critical. Get away from the distractions, build belief, build relationships, see examples of success, get good information, recharge your batteries, and defining moments happen at events. Why promoting them is critical. It'll do what you can't do for your people, gets everybody on the same page, creates exponential growth, allows you to build outside of your hometown, and it creates a sense of pride in the team. Decide that you're going to be known for this from this day forward. Write your goals down for at least the next 3 events and continue to adjust those goals as you move forward. Make a public declaration today. Here's what I'm going to do at the next event, period, end of story. Become more committed than anybody else to making sure that you have an increased number at that next event. Put a sense of fun and a sense of adventure in this. Go crazy. Do something wild and crazy. Create a big vision for why it is that we are all doing this. Create a game plan for how we're going to do it. Create a campaign. Name it. Make it something special and cool and fun. Tell stories. They're your most valuable tool. Breakthrough stories, overcoming obstacle stories, distraction stories, success stories. Tell stories like crazy. This is the biggest clue I look for is the verbal commercial inside of an organization. The problem solving. Over and over and over again, you're going to have to solve problems. Recognition and prestige. Build that into your event promotion campaign. Peer pressure. By including and as a result excluding people, treating people different that go than people that don't go. Fear of loss. People want to not be left behind. Killing all distractions. As soon as they show up, the faster the better. Never ignore a distraction. Kill it. Assignments. People love assignments. They respond to assignments. They crave assignments. Help them by giving good, positive assignments that they can live up to. Challenge them. Whatever it is that they think they can do, have them stretch a little bit farther. Have them see a little bit more than maybe they saw before. Overcome the finances. Figure out a way to help people through stories and everything else. Make this a priority. Prospects. Don't let an event go by without having prospects at that event. And expectations. Set the expectations for people so they can rise to those expectations. Track the results. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you master these skills, everything else gets much easier. If I had to pick one skill, this is the one. So as we always say, ladies and gentlemen, my wish for you is that you decide to become a network marketing professional, that you decide to become a world-class event promoter, that you decide that this is your destiny, this is your future, to not only change your life, but to change the lives of thousands and tens of thousands and maybe even millions of other people. It is a fact that we have a better way. Now, let's go tell the world. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. It was my pleasure to be with you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.